What's up, guys? So since the last episode or video, whatever you want to call it, we have not touched the car. We did end it off pretty sad. Obviously the car did run, but if you guys saw the last few seconds, now we had smoke inside the car, which is not ideal. You never want to have that. We have a massive oil leak, which I still don't know where it's coming from, but I have a couple ideas. We had a fuel leak from the fuel rail, and then we had seven codes. We are gonna go into it and at least look up the codes. I did take a screenshot because obviously the car sits for a while, so I unplugged the battery. I don't want the battery to drain, but as of right now, we have, I believe it's 2 evap codes, 3 misfires in cylinders 1, 3, and 4, and then we have multiple misfires, obviously. And then there was one more, which I think has to do with the secondary O2 sensor, which I don't use because obviously we've had a hood exit. Now, have not touched the car. Literally has been sitting since that day. We drove it down the street, came back, parked it, called it a day. We have 7 days to get this shit ready for a meet that is gonna be on the beach, and the bike need to be outside. Okay, so as you guys can see, this shit is not outside ready. Okay, if you're looking back there, the bumper's cooked. That back bumper, I think we'll have to zip tie for the meantime. Up here, no headlights. There's not even a bumper right now. And then obviously we have all the fucking issues that there's those issues that I listed, plus we still need to mount the fuel cell to the actual frame of the car. It's not mounted, it's just loose. The clutch is hella weird. For some reason, it'll only grab when it's like all the way down, so I need to adjust it. I don't know if there's air still inside or whatever, but in this video, this fucking XP is gonna be outside, okay? Let's get started. Obviously, most of the issues are in the engine bay. As you guys can see, we have a lot here. If you zoom in here, babe, you can see oil right here. There's oil here, there's oil here, there's oil all the way down in the dipstick. Now, I believe earlier in one of the other 2 videos where I was getting this shit ready, we replaced this dipstick because for some reason mine was broken. How does a dipstick break? Don't ask me because I still don't know. So we replaced this with a junkyard one, and apparently every time you replace these, you should swap out the O-ring, and I didn't do that, so might be leaking through there. I also think the timing cover is where it's leaking from, because when we were running this car, oil was seeping through here, which this black part is obviously the timing cover, and it was seeping through here, through the middle. So I think I might have just not used enough RTV. So I did end up getting the best silicone in the game, Honda Bond. Now I know this is a Toyota, so that might be a little controversial, but your boy's a Honda boy at heart, so Honda Bond it is. Now that, I believe, is where the main oil leaks are coming from. If there is any other little one, it might be the valve cover. Honestly, I went very light with the silicone on the valve cover and the timing cover, just because this was the first motor that I was putting together. So kind of wanted to be safe. So I should have went thicker rather than lighter, but whatever. Now for the fuel leak, and this fitting is where it's leaking from. So I think I just got to tighten it a tiny bit more, and we should be good. If anything, I could take it out and put a little bit of Teflon. That should be it. So we aren't leaking fuel in the rear, which is good because we have all the fuel filters and fuel pump back there. So right now we're gonna clean the engine because you can't find an oil leak if your engine's filled with oil or it's really dirty. So let's get some brake cleaner, a few rags, and put my girl to work. Lego. I bought a new bottle of brake cleaner, which will probably run out by the end of this little section, but obviously we got to clean everything that has oil in it. We'll probably start the car and see where the oil is coming from. You cannot find where the leak is coming from if you don't have a clean engine. All right. So here we're just trying to make sure we get all the oil out of the engine. That way it's as clean as possible for when we do start it. I really hope it's not the timing, but knowing myself, it's the timing. While Ari cleans here, basically I just want to explain. Every single part that I was using is the exact same part that was on the car 5 months ago. It was all in Ziploc bags, and now I don't know what could have gone bad. So ideally, with a misfire, you would start out checking the cylinders. Now we have technically 3 misfires. The car was running fine, which is a little weird, but 3 misfires, it's gonna be hard to diagnose which one's which. So I bought new spark plugs, which is the first thing most people start with. when trying to diagnose a misfire. Ideally, you would swap the spark plugs and figure it out, but I'm not gonna do all that. I'm just gonna buy new ones. If we still have it, then we'll go through the coil packs and we'll swap one with two to see if it still misfires. And then after that, we should be able to see where the oil is coming from. And fingers crossed. Let's get the O-ring for the dipstick. That way we could swap it out and I'll show you guys. It's super simple. Thankfully Toyota made that easy. All right, so first thing, there is a 10mm bolt right here. We need to loosen that so we can pull the dipstick out. You know, honestly, I'm kind of glad it runs. It does have problems, but it runs, okay? So I was kind of skeptical on this car not starting while I was building it. Good thing is the machine shop did most of the hard work. Your boy just put it together. Find it later. All right, so then just pull it out. You saw how easy it came out? That's not supposed to come out that easily, okay? Good thing is it's leaking oil, so we know we have oil, which is fucking amazing. Is it this one that I kind of spray painted over? It probably is. Let me see. All right, so I took the O-ring out and it's cracked, okay? And it came off pretty easily. So let me go check my toolbox to see if I have an O-ring this size and we'll replace it with that. So there's hella bugs out here, bro. My fucking legs are itchy and blocked at the toes, okay? This is just not free content. That's for later. But surprisingly, I had this 1,000-piece O-ring and plumbing washer kit sealed. And I cannot tell you when the fuck I bought this. So this is probably bought Civic times, which was like almost 2 years ago. Yo, fucking low-key perfect, dude. Try this bigger one just in case, see if it works better. But, so, all right, we have two different ones. This is the old one. These are the new ones. This one is a tad smaller and this one's a tad bigger. I don't have the exact same one. So, when in doubt, it's a good fucking question because I have no idea. So we're gonna put the smaller one. I think the smaller one just makes more sense. Well guys, in today's episode, we have shown you how to get bitten by bugs. So these bugs during the Florida summers are actually so annoying. I absolutely hate working outside because of these. What? Alright, so we're gonna pick back up the next day we work on this because these bugs are actually eating us and I'm kind of annoyed. Okay, so peace. So it is the next day and we have lost our cameraman, aka my girlfriend, so camera woman, and we have lost my little magnet piece for my microphone. So now I have to hold it like I'm talking to you guys and we're on a podcast. So let's get to this. I'm trying to figure this out today. Now I'm gonna move the car back a little bit. That way we have more space in the front to work on it. I think we are going to have to remove the timing cover, but before we do that, I want to turn the car on and see if we could find where the oil is coming from. I'm 80% sure it's from the timing cover, which isn't ideal because that timing cover is a pain in the butt to get out. And my ATI super damper was also a pain in the butt to get in. And that was with the engine out of the car. So now with the engine in the car and very limited space, this is going to be interesting. You see, the part I don't understand is while we were driving the car, it was driving fine. So I'm not sure why it says that we have 3-cylinder misfires, but you know, it is a fresh build. So and I think we are going to have to take this for a spin unless we could see the leakage pretty quick, which I think it was as soon as it was building up oil pressure when we were cranking it, it started to leak. So we'll see in a second. The holding the mic is kind of really inconvenient, but I don't know where my freaking magnet piece went. So kind of cooked. All right, so I'm gonna see if I could just tighten up the fuel rail fitting from the send. Those are both as tight as they're gonna get. All right, so I think those are good for now. All right, so what I'm gonna do is tighten up the fuel pressure regulator, because right now I just basically tighten it with my finger. So honestly, what do you guys think about this fuel pressure regulator placement? I like it because without the cowl, it is so easy to reach and access. There it is, so that's not moving anymore, that's good. All right, so now that the fuel pressure regulator is tight, the fuel line is tightened again, and then we put the new O-ring onto the oil dipstick. I do want to start the car, but I want to go into the wiring for the fuel pump really quick. So as you guys can see, I kind of just spliced everything and connected it with tape. I don't want it to be like that for the final look. So I got some heat shrink connectors. That way we could just heat shrink it, and then we'll cover it up with some heat shrink. That way it looks a lot better. This is kind of just eh. All right, so I seen that the fuel pump fitting was leaking, so I tightened that one up. We did the heat shrink on all of these. I do still just have to wrap them up with tape, but I want to crank the car up just to make sure it's still working. And then I unplugged the coil packs. That way we could start taking off the coil packs and swap out the spark plugs. And then I am going to crank it just so we could see what the fuel pressure is at, and then we'll go from there into changing the spark plugs. All right, so it died. Oh, it might be out of fuel. Let's try it again. All right, so the intake wasn't on, so obviously it wasn't going to stay on, but we have a big fuel leak right here. So I don't know if this fitting is bad because it keeps moving, and this is the only one that moves that much, and you can kind of see it. There's some like liquid in there, so I'm going to try to tighten this up again and see if that works. On a good note, these are still working properly, so that's good, and there is no leaks back here. We still need to do the vent valve for the fumes, which I'm not sure if I'll just put it right there or make a whole thing that goes outside the car. That way it doesn't smell like fumes. And then we still need to tie in and put all these bolts on, tighten those up. So there's still a few things, but we're making progress. All right, so let's start taking off the valve cover. Take off these first. The phone was overheating, so I took a tiny bit of a break. Well, let's get back to this. Maybe let's see. Broke here. Interesting. That's actually, maybe that's why it was leaking. So fun fact, the valve cover on an XB does not get silicone, so I did that wrong. So I'm just cleaning it out, making sure it's as clean as possible for the new gasket to go on. All right, we're back, and we went to AutoZone and got the new valve cover gasket. Now, I know it would be ideal if we could get an OEM one. The nearest Toyota dealership for me that has one is in Naples. I'm in Tambo. That's ridiculous. New spark plugs, NGK Iridium. Those should be plenty for the box. Now we are doing the exact same thing we did earlier, but on the actual valve cover side. So I sprayed some brake clean, made sure to wipe it off and clean it out. And then we're just going to put the new valve cover gasket on. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to swap out the spark plugs since we know those are old. Now with these spark plugs, I did not gap them. I just left them to the standard that they come with. When we do eventually turbo the car, I will gap them slightly different. Alright, so it's 2 days later, and basically after the last clip, I was helping a buddy camera his 9th gen Civic, so I didn't really record much. The only thing is, now we have 5 days until the meet. The XB still has a lot of work to be done, and the time is counting down. I don't even know if I'm gonna get this done, but let's get back into it. And the last little bit, we were working on the valve cover gasket, so let's go put it on. Alright, so we have put everything back on. I kind of just decided to, we put this back on, we put the 4 coil packs back on, we put the ground cable, we put the intake, this thingy, we put the exhaust on, we connected the O2 sensor, and I think that should be everything to at least get the car to start, and then we're going to start looking for leaks. Now, obviously, we just replaced the gasket, so if it starts leaking pretty freaking quick, then we know that wasn't the gasket. All right, so right now we upped the bar on the fuel gauge. I'm not sure if it's running lean or rich, so it's about 3.75. ChatGPT says to keep it about 3.2. So I put it a little bit higher just in case, because obviously I do have a hood exit. So to my knowledge, I've been running lean for a while because of the hood exit, so I'm trying to balance it out. Right now we're bleeding the clutch. We've bled it as much as possible from here. But I think with the stage 1 clutch, I need to lengthen the push rod on the clutch pedal. So we're going to try to do that, and I'll show you guys real quick. All right, so according to Google AI, you loosen this 12 millimeter, and then this push rod moves, meaning we have to extend it out so it raises the engagement point. Now I'm going to do that really quick because I can't hold the phone while showing you guys this. Okay, thanks. All right, so really quick. I adjusted it only I think it was maybe 2 or 3 threads. I said not to do it too much, but now, so the clutch used to grab way down here. Now it's here. Here you could feel it grab. So let's see if we could drive this. All right, moment of truth. We are about to drive this bitch. Now fingers crossed. Let's do it. I'm kind of excited. Fuck. That shit almost got stuck.
Try it again.
Stalled. I didn't even let it go. Fuel pump is so loud, bro. I swear it grabs All right, so hella oil like by the timing chain tensioner, and it is really hot. And I don't know if it's because maybe it's low on coolant, but that shit's like kind of smoking a little bit. It ran a little better. Oh yeah, there's definitely oil. Fuck me, dude. All right, well, if you guys watched the last clip, bittersweet. It's not leaking fuel, so we've made progress, which is a good thing. I did find out that one of the hoses that comes out of the thermostat and into the cabin is kind of cracked, and that's why it's kind of steaming, and you guys saw that smoke. Now we could just cap those off and delete those, because basically our AC isn't even plugged in. So I'll probably get 2 caps for both of those. Next, unfortunately, we are going to have to take the timing cover off because it is leaking right here. As you guys could see, it's oily. I don't know if it shows well on the camera. And then on the back side, right where the timing tensioner is, it's also leaking. It might be that the timing tensioner was loose, so I tightened it, but up front it is still leaking, so we are going to have to take off that. So I ended up just taking off the 2 hoses for the heater, and I basically just cut it. I put the clamp through here and I looped it through there. That way the coolant still circulates through the engine. It's just not going inside the car. Now I know this isn't ideal if eventually we decide to have AC, but for now, to get the car running as best as possible, I'm just going to do that. And the next thing is going to be timing, but we'll pick back up tomorrow. All right, so it is the next day. Now we have about 4 days until the car meet, and we need to pull the timing cover. So basically we are just going to time lapse a lot of this because it is kind of repetitive, and we already did it in a previous video. If not, I will voice over everything we are doing, but let me show you guys. So basically this is where we left off. We got the fuel situated, so that's about 3.75, almost 4 bar, which should equal to like 48, almost 50 for the fuel. Now it is leaking through the timing cover right here and through the backside also right there. So what I am going to do is jack up the car, get this a little bit higher so we can empty out the oil, take out the oil pan. After the oil pan is out, then we will take off the valve cover, and then after that is out, we'll remove all the pulleys. We should only have to remove the motor mount, the alternator, the AC compressor, the water pump, and the crank. The dead pulley back there should not have to come out. I think we should be okay without taking it off because that one doesn't really bolt onto the timing cover. It just bolts on by itself behind the bolt or behind the engine. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I think this is the last little bit to figure out before the car is actually drivable for longer periods of time. As you guys have seen, we've driven it a tiny bit around here, like around my street, but you know, it keeps leaking, it keeps doing all these misfires and all these weird issues. So I want to fix the leaks before I actually start driving this, because once we start driving it, we need to get that braking period done so then we can turbo it. Well, where do I begin? To be honest, I'm actually very annoyed that we have to redo the timing. It was such a tedious process in the beginning before we even had the motor in the car. So now that the motor is in the car and we have so much less room to work on, it's going to be even more of a pain in the butt. But I'd rather get this done now before I start actually driving this car. I can't wait till all the little issues are figured out and it is back on the road. But same thing here. So basically we started off with removing the valve cover, and then we're going to start removing the motor mount and most of the accessories on the timing side. Now we are going to leave the alternator and the AC compressor on there because those do not need to come off, but the tensioner pulley, the dead pulley, and the dampener are all going to have to come off. So yeah, honestly, very repetitive, and I struggled a lot to take off this motor mount because it did end up breaking, and I haven't bought another one yet, but I eventually will, which is also why my car makes a clicking sound when I'm driving it. So if you guys are hearing that, it's my axles and the motor mount being broken. So I understand why most people will just pull out the engine to do the timing, because this freaking bolt is almost impossible to take out. Like, I don't know why it's such a pain in the butt, but we finally got it out. So after that one, we should be good to at least start taking off the timing cover bolts. I just have to set the crank to top dead center. All right, and now it is 4 p.m. the next day. Now, since that last little clip, basically we went to try to take off the crank, and as you guys know, I don't have an OEM crank. I have a ATI super damper, which is just incredibly on there. Now, basically, I have tried taking off the bolt. I've tried to pry it a little bit. I tried pulling it. I put WD-40, PB blaster, everything behind this crank to try to get it out, and it will not come out. So then I went to Harbor Freight to buy a puller. It is a Harbor Freight wheel puller set. You basically put this pushes this onto the crank, and then you put 3 bolts onto your actual crank pulley, and it's supposed to pull it out. Well, guess what? All right, so quick little setup shot. Basically, I put the crank bolt back in, and I tightened it about maybe 6 threads. I didn't want to put it the entire way in. And then I took 3 of the T40 screws that go onto the dampener, took them off, and then I basically found 3 bolts from here that fit, and these were it. They are kind of long, but they should still work. So what I did was I put a washer, put the screw, and I tightened that screw as good as it can be. Now, mind you, the dampener isn't super thick. I mean, it is, but it's not insanely thick. So they went in about maybe halfway, if not a little bit more. And then I put in the center thingy, and all I'm doing is tightening it. Now the crank is moving, but if I could try to hold the crank, it is kind of pulling it. You can kind of see I have a little bit more space back here. So we're gonna keep trying, and yeah, we're just gonna keep going until we can take this off, because this is the last thing we need. I'm excited. Honestly, I'm glad that I bought this ATI super dampener, because I do think it actually works really well, but it is such a pain to remove and to put on. I honestly, why couldn't they make it slightly easier? Like, bro, this thing is annoying. All right, so the dampener is out. I kind of did cook my my timing cover, but you feel me? It's not actually broken, okay? I just hammered it. Not hammered, but I kind of forked it one too many times. So now we can actually start trying to take off all the 12mm bolts for the timing cover and slide it off. Okay, so now that the dampener is off, we are just removing all the bolts that go onto the actual timing cover that connect it to the head or the block. Now, I think there was a total of around 8 bolts, all of them being like a 12 or a 14mm, and we are just removing all of those. You know, so today was going smooth. We got the dampener out, the timing cover was coming off, all the bolts came off super easily, which is great. Who doesn't love it? Until I go to take the timing cover out, and this falls on the ground. Now, if you can tell, this is half a bolt. This is not a full bolt, because there's no threads on this side. Where did that break, you may ask? Well, inside the fucking block. Look at that shit. Look at that. Oh my god. Okay, well, I was honestly so nervous and actually pretty scared to drill into the block to try and remove the rest of the stud that broke. Now, if you've ever broken anything into an engine, you have to be so cautious and precise. You don't want to mess up anything. You don't want to mess up the remainder of the threads. So I was honestly just being really careful while spraying a little bit of brake clean and going back and forth with the drill in reverse and a screwdriver to try and pry it off. Luckily, it did end up coming off with no issues, so I am very thankful. All right, 1 hour later, we finally got it out. This was how much was broken inside the block, and thank goodness I came out without it. Basically, I just drilled a little hole, and then I just happened to have like these extract things that I just did it. Whatever, it worked. Let's go. So a lot has happened in the past couple days, and I have not recorded. Now, the meet we were excited about, it didn't turn out to be what we thought it would be. So not even gonna post a video on it. We're just gonna get back to fixing the XB. Now, on the last clip, you guys saw that we broke a stud inside the block, which was for the timing tensioner thingy, whatever. So we got the new stud from Toyota. It did take about 5 days for it to come in, so that kind of sucks. But in today's video, we should get this thing back together. We're gonna put extra silicone, Honda Bond, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that it's good. And then hopefully it's not leaking and it gets dialed. Sorry, I know this is getting very repetitive, but we are basically doing everything that we did earlier to remove the timing cover in reverse. Okay, so we're putting the bolts of the timing cover. We're going to put the dampener on. We're going to put the rest of the pulleys, make sure that is all seated, and then we will put the motor mount. Thank you guys for watching. I know these videos have been longer than usual, and a lot of you guys are enjoying them, so I appreciate it. It motivates me so much more to keep posting and making content for you guys. Mind you, I'm just a guy with a box. Okay, I'm nothing special, just recording what I do on a normal basis. All right, so all that's left is to basically fill up the oil. So this is the exact same oil that I drained out of the engine earlier in this video. Might as well reuse it since it's only been 2 miles since I put it. All right, so we finally just finished wiring the fuel level gauge. So I'm gonna try to crank the car so we can build up pressure and see if it tells me how much gas we got. All right, so we're back. After the last clip, my fuel rail was leaking a lot, and it turned out to be that one of the seals for the injectors was bad. Turns out AutoZone doesn't sell them. Toyota sells them for $15 a piece. So I looked through my stockpile, and luckily it was actually one of the stuff that Max Speeding Rods sent me. So again, shout out Max Speeding Rods. Go check the link in the description. Use code YAFET at checkout. Get a discount off all of their parts. And now we're gonna try to start it. So as you guys saw, we let the car idle for a little bit. It was kind of still hesitating right now. The only 2 codes that I'm getting is the evap, which again, we don't care about, and then ignition coil B, which would be my second cylinder. Something wrong with the ignition coil. Now, the coil packs, haven't replaced them. So maybe it's that. I'm gonna try to pull it out, put some brake clean on it, and then clean out the little plug, see if that fixes it. And then hopefully we could take this thing for a drive and hopefully there's no leaks. So let's try to drive this around the block. There is no crazy oil leaks or anything like that yet, so fingers crossed. I do think once we get up to temp, I'm gonna need to top off the coolant, but I could do that once we come back. Alright guys, so as you guys saw from the last clip, we drove the car around the block, not for too long, since it is a freshly built motor. I can't let it idle for too long, like crazy periods of time. I do still need to obviously brake in the clutch, so I think I'm just gonna leave it as it is, and hopefully it kind of just starts acting like a normal. Other than that, no oil leaks as of right now. The fuel leaks are good. The cabin feels insane. There is so much noise in here from that fuel pump, So I gotta figure out something for that. But this video's already been kind of long, so I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to subscribe. We upload every single week. We'll be back next one.